Well, my connection with the Titanic story is that my father's great uncle, that's Dad's mum's brother, was a first class steward on Titanic. He'd been with White Star Lines for a number of years, had served on the Teutonic and the Olympic, and at Captain Smith's request had transferred to Titanic for the maiden voyage. He joined the ship at Belfast and was present during the sea trials, and then when she came down to Southampton, there were three stewards on Titanic from the Isle of Wight, two first class, one third class, and all three perished when the ship sank. But interestingly enough, in June, following the sinking in April, the three bodies of the three island stewards were picked up by the British steamer Ilford, and they were together because they tied their life jackets together.
So they survived?
No, they all drowned.
Oh, right.
But in leaving the ship, they tied their life jackets together with a line.
I see.
So when they were picked up over a month later, many hundreds of miles from the sinking site, the three island boys were together.
Wow. And when did you first hear the story?
I grew up with it. Great Uncle Will's sister was my grandmother, and she was alive when I was a small child. And as a small child, I used to go to her house, and she, along with all the other relatives of those who were lost on Titanic, had received, out of the goodness of their heart from White Star Lines, a very large photograph of the ship as a reminder of their lost relatives. So I grew up with a picture of Titanic on my grandmother's wall. Interestingly enough, the story comes down through the family that when Titanic was provisioned, it was done in rather a hurry, and a fair number of the glasses that went on board hadn't been engraved with White Star Lines RMS Titanic. And Great Uncle Will, when they were getting the ship ready for the maiden voyage, was told by his superior, lose those glasses, the ones without the White Star monogram. And he brought 6 of them home, and that was 100 years ago. And of the 6 that he brought home, I've got 3 of them, and I've got one of them here today.
And this must have had such an emotional impact on your family.
Oh, sure, yes. But I grew up with it. The Titanic was a topic of conversation right from my earliest recollections of childhood because of the big picture on the wall. And of course, as a small child, I would see the picture and want to know the story and what was the family connection. So I grew up knowing about Great Uncle Will and how he'd been lost when Titanic went down.
And how did it affect your family, though, when they were telling you the story and when they were discussing it?
They were terribly sad about it. He was only 27 years of age, had been engaged just before she was due to sail, and had hoped to have a good trip. He sent a letter home from Queenstown in Ireland when she made her final stop before the crossing, saying that he was hoping for a good voyage and a good trip back. And he had intended, when he got ashore, to have married and, done what everybody else did. But unfortunately, that was not to be. He went down when the ship went.